During the first week of January 2021, I traveled to Berlin. And because it was still the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, I had to stay in a 10-day quarantine. 10 full days. Those were the 10 most boring days of my life. Because I knew I couldn't step out of the apartment for those 10 days, I decided to come up with a little routine. Usually, when I wake up in the morning, I did a little bit of exercise. I took a shower, then I ate breakfast. I read a little bit, then it's lunchtime, I eat lunch. Then I take a nap. I wake up, I walk around my apartment, and then I eat again. After following this routine for 3 days, I was already fed up and I had 7 more days to go. So I called up one of my friends just to complain. I'm feeling bored, of course. And she recommended this slide writing course for me. At first, I was thinking, what is new to learn about slide writing? After all, I've been making PowerPoint slides for more than a decade. Upon a second thought, I decided to give the course a try, and so I signed up. And I was completely blown away. I realized I have been making PowerPoint slides the wrong way for over a decade. What an achievement! In this series of videos, which I'll be posting in the next few weeks, I'll be sharing with you the latest PowerPoint design and presentation tips that will help you to communicate your message more clearly and keep your audience engaged. In today's video, which is the first of this series, we will focus on the basic structure of a slide. Every slide is supposed to hold only one argument, and this one argument can be communicated in three main components, which makes up a slide, the basic structure of a slide. The first is the descriptive or the action title. The second is the frame, and then the third is the details. Let's look at each of these individually. We start with the first component, which is the action title. The action title is a short description that communicates the key message of your argument. It is used to pre-orient your audience, and it should contain an action verb and be at most 10 words long. This is an example from one of the earlier slides that I used, and this is the action title here. It shows that an effective slide has three main components. So even if you don't have an idea about what the person is going to present about, and you read the action title, it gives you the key message of that slide. And the action title should contain an action verb. If you write just an effective slide, nobody understands what that means. And also, it should not be more than 10 words. So it should be concise and brief. This is an example of an action title which I used in one of my recent presentations. And the action title says, global energy demand is predicted to double by 2050. And so anyone who sees the slide, even without understanding what these figures and others mean, would get the key message I'm trying to communicate in that slide. And so that is the action title. It is always recommended to use a clear descriptive title rather than just a phrase. So if you compare these two slides, the one on the left and the one on the right, the one on the left says global energy demand. And then your audience goes like, what about global energy demand? Once you put an action verb and make it a full sentence, your audience reads global energy demand is predicted to double by 2050, and they already understand what your slide is going to be talking about. So this is the concept about the action title. Using a clear action title will help your audience to understand quickly what your key message is. And now let's move to the second component of an effective slide, which is the frame. The frame is the skeleton on which your information lies. It has to do with how you structure the information you want to share with your audience, and it enables your audience to zoom into the big picture, to visualize the big picture and to see how all the information relates to each other. It typically uses different types of shapes and arrows to show how the information is structured. Let's look at an example of a frame from one of the previous slides I used earlier in this presentation, which is this one. So the frame is this structure in which the information is embedded. So once you look at the frame, even without any information written in the frame, you know that there is something here and these three things are related to that thing. So that's the idea of the frame. It just gives you an idea of how the information is structured or how the information is related to each other. This is another example of the framing. So if you see this slide, you immediately know that it's supporting the key message here that the global energy demand in 2020 is at this level, and in 2050 is going to rise to this. So the framing shows that there is an increase in something. And this is the main concept about frame, that it shows you the visual structure of the argument. Even if you don't understand what the numbers in the graph mean, you can understand the structure or how the information is structured. These are other examples of how you can use framing on a slide. So for example, we say the National Hospital has 4 main departments. So you have the first box, which is the National Hospital, and then there are 4 different departments. So it shows the relationship between one parameter and others. CO2 emissions have 2 main adverse effects. The same, you can represent it in this format, that it shows that there is something here, which is the CO2 emissions, and then it has 2 main effects. Or the water purification occurs in 5 steps. So if this is the action title, you look at the graph, all these different levels of information are supporting the one argument on your slide. And now we go into the third component, which is details. The details are the information upon which everything else rests. This is the information you want to share with your audience. And the details are usually incorporated into the frame to support your one argument. So if we look at this slide, for example, we have the action title here, the frame, which is the structure, and then the details are the information which are incorporated into the frame. The same is true for the graph on the right. The details are the amount of energy demand now and then in the future. And so these are the information you really want to share with your audience, but then you incorporate it into a frame and also using an action title to make your message clearer and more engaging. Details can also be in the form of tables and graphics. Here we have a table which is supporting the key message here that the surface composition of titanium P25 and yellow titanium are different. And so the information in the table shows the 2 different types of titanium and how their composition is different. So the details are supporting your argument. They are the facts that are proving your argument. And just to make a little recap, each slide should have only one argument, and this argument can be communicated with 3 main levels. The first is the key message or the action title. So the action title contains a verb, should be not longer than 10 words. And then the second one is the structure or the frame, the way the information is structured. And the details are the facts with sources or the information that supports your arguments. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Hope to see you in the next video to discuss another slide writing tip.